Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 19th and tonight's movie is Oculus. Now, I remember seeing trailers for this when it was being released a few years ago and I didn't really think much of it. But I saw it and I absolutely love this movie. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 and it is among some of the best movies I've watched this month. The plot is that there's this mirror, and I'm pretty sure what the movie was going for was that it can't actually do anything physically. It can't move stuff, it can't attack people, but what it can do is that it can hijack the senses of people and give them delusions that look just like reality. So it could basically make them do pretty much anything. However, this only works on living things. Again, it can't actually physically change the world. They established that cameras aren't fooled by it. The movie stars a brother and sister, and about 11 years prior to this movie, their family owned the mirror, and it caused their dad to go crazy, kill their mother, and the son had to kill the dad in order to protect them. The son was sent off to a mental institution, and the daughter was sent off to foster care. But they made a promise that once they met again, they would come together to destroy the mirror. When the brother's released, the sister is just as gung-ho about it as she was the day that he left. But after 11 years of psychiatric care, the brother thinks that it was just something that they made up in order to cope. But nevertheless, he still tries to help her, and together they work together to try to destroy the mirror. And you can definitely tell that the sister spent 10 years thinking about what to do, because she has this entire thing set up. There's cameras, there's alarms reminding her to eat, she asks her fiance to call her every hour. Basically what she wants to do is not only destroy the mirror, but before that she wants to test it, and she wants to prove to everybody that her dad wasn't a psycho killer. Out of all the movies I've seen, the one that this reminds me the most of is Perfect Blue. In both Perfect Blue and Oculus, after a certain point in the movie, you can't tell what's real and what's not. In Perfect Blue, it was just the main character going crazy. But in Oculus, you have no idea what's reality and what's a delusion created by the mirror. They also run parallel to the present story. They run the story of what happened when they were kids. So there are a lot of flashbacks, and sometimes the flashbacks even leak into what's really happening, which is a lot like some of the other movies that the director of Perfect Blue, Satoshi Kon, went on to do. This entire dementia thing is the best part of the movie when it comes to creating horror. You don't know if anything they do even matters, and it feels like the mirror is just toying with them. This entire thing is just a game. Funnily enough, like the Babadook from yesterday, the mirror itself doesn't look creepy at all. It just looks like a normal mirror. There's nothing weird looking about it. There's no way somebody's gonna look at it and not think that's just a regular mirror. Now, I want to give credit where credit is due. The four actors who play the two siblings, the two adults and the two kids, all do great in this movie. And the kids do just as well as the adults. The brother as an adult serves as a good everyman, but I really liked the sister as an adult. She just had this, seriousness about her. She deeply cared about what she was doing, and she also didn't care what anybody else had to say about it. She kind of reminded me of Okabe from Steins Gate or Elle from Death Note. She was just a really fun character. One issue that I will say that the movie had was that a lot of the scares were pretty predictable. Once you figure out how the mirror works, you can kind of tell where it's going at points. This actually applies to one of the most important scares in the movie, but I'll save that for the spoiler section. There was also this one part where it was pretty obvious what was about to happen. They were on one of their food breaks and they were eating apples, and they had to go out and change the bulbs on some of the lights. And the second that the brother put down the apple next to the bulbs, you could immediately tell what was about to happen. But it doesn't happen. Then the sister goes over, she puts down the apple next to the light bulbs, and then of course she thinks she's picking up an apple and she bites into a light bulb. But then right after that, it cuts away and then cuts back, and then it's just an apple again. I think that was just another way the mirror was making it clear that it was in charge and it was just toying with them. But the mirror also does some pretty subtle things, or at least in comparison to making people eat glass. There was a point where the brother and sister were having an argument about whether or not the whole event with the mirror in their childhood was real. The brother was insisting that he was just going crazy, but the sister is standing firm that no, the mirror did it. During this argument, they walk out of the room where the mirror is, and then they walk back in, and then they see that everything's completely different. There were two cameras, and suddenly instead of looking at the mirror, they're facing each other, and like things are in different spots, and they look over the tape, and they saw that they were still having that argument, but while they were doing it, they were moving the stuff themselves. There's a lot of like trippy moments like that in this movie. You see what the characters see, so you see them do something, but then you look over it and reality completely contradicts what you just saw. This movie is a lot like Don't Breathe in that one of its best things is its very simple yet very clever setup. But unlike Don't Breathe, this one has a lot better characters and is executed a lot better. It might have been a little bit predictable at times, but the stuff in it that worked too well to ignore. This is another scary movie that I would totally recommend. Now let's talk about a few spoilers. Now, there is one moderate problem with the movie. It's not a humongous problem, but it's definitely there. The ending of it was kind of predictable. The sisters set up this thing where, there was an alarm that was supposed to go off every 30 minutes unless they reset it, and if the alarm ever went off, a small boat anchor with dumbbells attached to it would swing down and smash into the mirror. And yes, it's pretty obvious what exactly is going to happen. And it actually almost does happen. There's a point where the sister snaps to and she notices that she's standing right in front of the mirror and she turns and sees that the alarm is about to go out. So she runs over and turns off the alarm before the thing swings and smashes the mirror because she still wants to get information about it. But yes, the ending is a lot like what you probably are guessing it is. After this really trippy, really scary, dementia-filled experience, the brother snaps to and he's in the room with the mirror, so he decides to just end it once and for all and sets off the alarm that does the little anchor thing. And of course, she was standing there, but the mirror was making him believe that she wasn't. So she gets impaled and the mirror is fine. I feel like there were ways of having a kill switch on the mirror that wasn't so easy for the mirror to take advantage of. What if they put it up somewhere high and dropped it if the timer went off? Or I don't know, they own the house and the sister obviously doesn't care about money. She could have set up a little explosion behind it. Just something. Or even if they were going to have such a dangerous method of destroying the mirror, at least go full on. If there was a gun there and the gun went off, the person would die, but at least the mirror would break too. Don't make it so that the mirror could use a person as a meat shield. I'd say that they should have seen this coming, but I don't know. When I was watching the beginning of the movie, you definitely felt a sense of pride coming from the sister. She had spent so much time coming up with this plan, and she was convinced that they were going to win. The brother was also, I believe, not in the room when the anchor almost killed the sister the first time. So it's not like he had this exact scenario telegraphed to him earlier in the movie like the audience had. Pretty much everything that the siblings did made sense, but it still isn't a very good thing to have what the ending is going to be sort of spelled out a third of the way through the movie. However, that's pretty much the only real problem I have with Oculus. The rest of it works, and it works really, really well. A lot of the shooting and editing in this movie is supposed to make it a lot like a nightmare, which is very fitting considering that everything is changing, things seem real, but you know they're not, and they establish that the characters are not in control. The sister started out all confident, she was of course we are going to beat this mirror. But as the movie goes on, you sort of see the hopelessness of the situation actually take its toll on her. By the ending, she just wants to run away because she knows that she can't win. Oculus is a really well done horror movie. It's a good acid trip, it's psychological, it keeps you guessing, except for that one part, but for the most part, it really is a wonderfully executed horror movie. I'll see you tomorrow.